Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, it's Alex, and this is the Ramble. We go until midnight tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Albert Reynoso. He used to be my producer, and I used to be a big shot. So
You're still a big shot.
I'm a big shot. Still a big shot? Yeah, sure.
A huge YouTube following, from what I hear.
Oh, really? Incredible YouTube following? Right.
You're what's called an influencer.
Oh, really? And what is it exactly that I'm influencing?
I don't know, but that's what you are.
Yeah.
It means you get free stuff, I think.
Yeah.
That's all it means, really.
Yeah. So anyway, you were mentioning to me when we were not doing this that you're cooking ribs right now.
I am cooking ribs. I will have been cooking ribs some time ago.
Okay.
In reality.
How long do you do your ribs in the oven?
I do them in the oven, yes.
Okay, because I don't know if you have a grill outdoors or whatever. Okay.
I don't care to grill, no. You know why? Because if I grill, the grill is about 4 yards from my oven and stove. Why do I need to do that?
And have to clean the grill after it's through.
Clean the grill.
Yeah.
I have an oven and stove 4 yards away from the grill, so
Okay.
I'm not using the grill ever.
Now let's compare, because I make ribs too. I don't know, have you ever had my ribs?
I don't think so.
Okay. But I make excellent ribs. I've developed this over years and years and years of experience to where, bottom line, it all depends on whether you get good meat or not.
Yes, I don't get the St. Louis style ribs. I get the loin.
Which is what she said.
Right.
Anyway, now I get the St. Louis type. But tell me how you...
Fattier, the St. Louis.
The St. Louis. Well, actually, I get baby backs, which are... I've been told that baby backs are a misnomer. That they don't really exist. That they're simply regular ribs that are cut shorter or something.
Yeah, I think that's the loin ribs. That's the end of the loin ribs, which are shorter. The shorter end of
short
the ribs.
But anyway,
ribs go from big to small.
How do you make yours?
I'm doing it 2 ways. I used to do it 2.5 hours at 300, and then a half an hour at 400. And in that 400 half hour, I'd sauce the one side 15 minutes and sauce the other side for 15 minutes. But what I'm doing now is 4.5 hours at 275. And then after that time, I sauce the ribs, put them under the broiler for a couple minutes, and done.
Okay.
Longer cooking now.
Okay, here's mine. Okay. First of all, I take the ribs and I put
parboil them?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No, I used to, and I found that is not good. Because what it does, it sucks all the juice out of the ribs.
Yeah, you're getting rid of the fat, and you're getting rid of...
and it's just not a good idea. I thought it was. One time they said, oh, that's a great idea, you should do that. No.
It softens the ribs, no question about it.
It softens them.
I mean, the meat, yeah.
Yeah, but if you do them long, cook them for a long time, you will get ribs that will fall off the bone as well. Okay?
Right.
Okay. So what I do is I put a rub on the ribs. I oil them up and put rub on the ribs.
As I do.
Yeah. And then I put them in foil.
As I do.
And tightly seal them.
As I do.
Yes, as you do. Just copying me, aren't you? Anyway, and then
good minds.
Then I stick them in at 325 degrees. Yeah, 325 degrees. And I let them cook for about 20 minutes, and then I turn the oven down to 225.
Okay.
And then I let them cook for another hour and 20 minutes at that.
That's it?
Wait a minute. Then
Okay.
I take them out of the oven and
Take them
out
out.
of the foil.
Out of the foil. Okay.
Right. And then lay them down on top of the pan that's cooking them
Yeah.
and
yeah.
put them back in for another hour.
Okay.
Okay?
So that's about 2.5 hours total.
At this point, no, it's 120, 140. It's 240 so far.
Okay.
And then
That's what I said, 2.5 hours.
And then I take them out and I put the sauce on them.
Right.
Okay.
Called
And
saucing the ribs.
saucing the ribs, and then I
Right.
put them back into the oven for
Okay,
another
240 and then another half hour.
another half hour.
So that's 310.
It's 310.
Okay.
Then what I
And
do
what
is
temperature is that last half hour?
huh?
What temperature is that
It's
last
still
half hour?
225. It's still 225.
225. It's pretty low. Pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally cooking the ribs slowly. Okay, so then I take the ribs and I pull them out and put some more sauce on the top and put them back in, but then I turn on the broiler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I let the broiler broil them for about 10 minutes until I see they're bubbling, and what happens is it starts to brown the ribs kind of in a
Right.
nice little,
Right.
and then I take them out, and
That's just for a couple of minutes. You can't leave that long.
I do that for about 10 minutes tops.
10 minutes, yeah. Very, very tops.
Yeah, yeah. And then I pull them out and I eat them, and they're delicious.
Very
So
good.
how does that
And the-
sound to you? Does that?
That sounds equivalent to what I.
It's like you do, only perhaps at different temperatures.
Many more steps, yeah. And my question now is this: the two of us have just spoken about ribs.
By the way, if this can now be, I guess, submitted to the Emmys as a cooking show today.
Well, you could if there were going to be any Emmys, but I hear the Emmys have been yet again postponed by the
Yes,
strikes
right,
of
right.
whoever is striking this
Right.
week. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the ribs, we were talking about ribs, and the ribs are the bones, right, of the thing.
Yeah.
And we both said that the meat falls off the bone. Why do we bother with ribs if we don't want the bones at all?
Yeah, but you
They
can't get
bones fall off the bones.
You can't get the meat off the bone until you cook them.
What kind of technology have we accomplished then if we can't do that?
Go to McDonald's then. They have the McRib sandwich.
The McRib. I love the
that
McRib.
doesn't have any rib in it.
No. And why would they call it the McRib? They should call it the McNo-rib, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should call it
This has
the.
got no rib.
Well,
The
it's
the Mc,
they could,
meaty.
They could call it cooked pork.
Yeah,
That's what
they
it
could.
is. You know.
Huh. Interesting. Do you know? Have you heard that the cultured meat is starting up now?
Cultured meat.
Cultured meat, which is, I guess, meat that's made in a kind of test tube meat.
Oh, test tube. Yes, I know about that. I saw about the test
See
tube
that?
meat.
The
Yeah.
FDA has given approval for 2 companies to create cultured chicken, which has been
Yeah.
taste tested and is said to be identical to the real dead bird.
But when
So
you go to
that-
eat
so-
it, if you know that it is that,
Yeah.
you're going to imagine, even if it tastes exactly the same, you're going to imagine some difference in taste.
Not me. If it prevents an animal from being
Not
killed,
you?
I'm fine with it.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. You know, but
I'm fine with it. I'm looking forward to the day when there are no more cows, because the only thing we use them for is to eat. Who would want a cow outside your house? I mean, who's going to want that? There won't be
You're
any
right,
cows.
you're right. There
no
is
need for cows whatsoever.
yeah, you know,
Pigs, maybe. People still like pigs.
you're not going to have a cow as a pet.
No, never.
You know,
never.
maybe if you're some kid on a farm, you might call Bossy a pet.
But once we get the cultured meat and the cultured milk, and
Well,
already oat
here's the
milks
thing
and
about
plant
meat.
milk.
It's tough.
What kind of meat are you eating?
I don't know, but I mean, every time we order meat from the store or whatever, no matter what we pay for it, we could pay for the highest price beef, right? It's
I
still.
thought you go to Costco for the great meat there. What happened to that?
I don't know. Their meat is If you get a thing of 4 pieces of meat, one of them is terrible.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I thought you raved about
look,
Costco.
I want a piece of meat that after it's finished, there's nothing on the side that I had to leave behind. You know what I mean? No gristle, no nothing like that. And the fact is that we buy a steak from, for instance, from Stu Leonard's.
I like Stu.
And I cook it up, and at the end of it, there's gristle all over the side of the plate. You know, because it only maybe 75% of it is edible.
So what kind of cut are you getting?
I don't know. Marjorie buys it. But all I'm saying is that I've gone to like Whole Foods and I've looked at like the best meat they have there, and I'll get a really good cut of meat, and I'll bring it home, and it doesn't have any gristle, but there's something else it doesn't have. Taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the fat gives it the flavor.
Yeah.
And the fattier the meat, the better flavor it has.
Well, it should be marbled.
Filet is very soft, but it doesn't have a high fat content, and you'll get no gristle.
But the thing is, the reason that fat, it's marbled with fat.
Right.
You know, it's not just suddenly big chunks of fat here and there, although it can, you know.
Next time I speak with you, I want to know what cut of meat you're getting.
Well, I'm not buying meat that much anymore. I mean, we're getting Marjorie orders out now. You know, like we get Instacart, and then she's got I can't remember the other company. The food kind of comes made.
Grubhub.
Huh? No,
Grubhub.
No, Grubhub is ordering from restaurants.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. But Instacart, I mean, I order from Costco every couple of weeks using Instacart. We use Stu Leonard's, which is way far away.
Do you have a Stu Leonard in?
No, it's up in
Westchester.
Westchester.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and but
so how do they deliver?
They
from
deliver. They deliver it. I don't know. They get here, and I asked them once. I said, "What is it? Is it some like kind of Stu Leonard's warehouse going back and forth?" Yeah. But anyway,
have you been up there? That's a great place. We get their lobster rolls. Oh,
their lobster rolls are just die for.
Do they make that fresh, or do you bring it?
Oh yeah, it's made fresh.
You know what I like about Stu Leonard's? It's you're the cattle.
Well, yeah, explain Stu Leonard's though, because there are people here watching this who have no idea what Stu Leonard's is.
It's a regular supermarket in that you can find everything: fresh produce, the meats, the fish, everything. The difference is you can't walk up and down the aisles. You go into this.
There's one aisle.
This cattle pen, which brings you through all the different sections. I think that's genius.
Well, it's genius, and I will usually travel the whole route. There are places you can cut across now.
Yes, there are. Like IKEA is the same way. They do the same thing.
But it's like you go down this thing, and what they do, which is really smart, is you pass by something, you go, let's see, do I need eggs? Nah, I don't think I need them today. And then you go down the path a little bit, and there are eggs again.
Yeah.
And you go, well, maybe I better pick up some eggs. You know, very smart, very ingenious.
Oh, I miss Stu Leonard's.
Yeah. Costco's ingenious too, because Costco does something very, very interesting. They change where they place stuff.
Everybody does that.
They constantly change where they place stuff, so you have to go through the entire Costco looking for, I don't know, your Coke Zero or something, which moved from this side of the store to the other side of the store, but you've got to go up and down a ton of aisles looking for it. In the meantime, you're going to be picking up cashews and potato chips and yeah.
Trader Joe's does it twice a year.
Really?
They change the whole, except for the wine and beer. They change stuff constantly. I mean, complete sections.
Really?
Potato chips were over here and snack chips were over here.
Yeah.
Half a year later, they're at the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
And that's done to make you, because on your way to trying to find this thing, you may buy 10 other things that you didn't need.
Yeah. Obviously, they can't change where the produce is. but they change where the bread is. They can't change where the eggs are, but they change where the chips are, and the salsa is, and all that stuff.
Yeah, but they moved the soda from one side of the building to the other, if I remember correctly.
Well, shouldn't they?
Anyway, but Stu Leonard's I always like because it's just fun.
Yeah, it is a fun.
It's
show.
fun, and I think kids like it too because they like some little animatronic animals and things like that they have in there and so on.
The Disney of supermarkets.
Yeah, and and then you go, I got to have this, I got to have that. I mean, it is really it's a brilliant market, and there's
a lot of impulse buying at Stu Leonard's.
Yeah, there's quite a few Stu Leonard's now. There's one out in Long Island that Shecky used to go to a lot.
I went to a Stu Leonard's. They had a liquor store in Long Island.
Yeah. Wait a minute. He just froze up.
Went with my wife one time to a tasting. They had a tasting event.
Mm-hmm.
And there must have been 80 different tables with different wines and liquors.
Oh, really?
And we got fucked up. We couldn't. We had to wait before we could drive home. It was great.
And that was at Stu Leonard's?
Stu Leonard's tasting, yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Because, here in New York, we have a thing that's kind of unusual that doesn't usually make a hell of a lot of sense. But here in New York, you can't have liquor in the same store as your food. In other words, Costco cannot sell liquor. But if they want to sell liquor, right next door they have a liquor store.
Right. But they can't sell wine and beer.
They can't. Can they? No, they can't sell wine. They can.
They do down here. They have Costco with wine and beer, and then the separate.
Well, down there, but here I think it's separate liquor store for wine and beer. Yeah.
I don't know about that
because I don't remember ever seeing beer. I don't remember seeing beer inside Costco.
Trader Joe's has beer in it in New York.
Really?
The wine store is separate.
Yeah.
And they don't. I don't think they sell liquor at the wine store.
Anyway, I'm sick and tired of arguing with you.
Well, you don't care anyway because you don't drink any of that stuff. So, what do you care?
I don't drink. You do.
I've been known to. Yeah.
You've been known to.
Been known to have a little alcohol once in a while. Maybe some marijuana.
Yeah. Well, marijuana. I'm just wondering, now that we've legalized marijuana, how many people are going to die from lung cancer from marijuana?
They won't care.
Is it dangerous?
I'm sure it's just as dangerous, but fewer and fewer people are smoking marijuana. People are taking the gummies, and people are taking the chocolates, and people are taking, the edibles and the concentrates.
I don't
even smoke it anymore.
Am I wrong? I don't like the edibles. I just don't think that I have enough control over my high with the edibles. Whereas with the smoking,
that's exactly you want to control. You're not getting high.
Well, here's what I'm good for. Here's what I only smoke pot for one reason. I have a vape right next to me on my bedside, and I take a puff off of it just before I want to go to sleep. And I have the indica, and the indica, it makes you really drowsy, and I go right to sleep.
Yeah, but then you don't take it to get high. You take it to relax and go to sleep.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, then that's why you shouldn't have the gummies unless you have indica gummies.
Well, the gummies, as I say, I just don't feel. I feel with a joint, I can control how much I'm taking in.
What's not to control? It's a 5 milligram or 10 milligram.
No, but
gummy.
I mean, it's more a chocolate bar, marijuana chocolate bar, right?
In there.
Well,
she didn't realize how much she was eating.
She ate the whole candy bar.
Yeah. But she has a high tolerance to start.
Wait a minute, not this case. She was stoned for 3 days.
Was it indica?
I don't know what it was.
You know what they say about indica? Indica in the couch.
In the couch, yeah.
You ain't moving.
You ain't moving. Yeah, but I mean, she was so blotto from that, and she said, "I didn't know you were only supposed to judge by a square."
Look at this.
What?
This is from my dispensary.
The cup is from your dispensary?
Yeah, from my marijuana dispensary.
And it's called Move?
Move, yes.
What is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. It's a hipster marijuana
Really? Oh, okay.
place. Yeah.
I don't know. See, but I mean, I used to smoke pot a lot, when I was younger. But as I've gotten older, I don't care about it that much.
Well, you did a lot of things back then to excess.
Did I?
As
Oh
we
yeah,
know.
I had a good coke. I had a good coke habit.
You take your paycheck and throw it in your nose.
Well, no, I didn't. I was very careful about that. I limited how much I would throw in my nose.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't. I was. In fact, I would cut mine down a bit so that I didn't use it as didn't get as heavy a dose.
You cut it with what?
A
Are you
mannitol.
a pharmacist now?
Mannitol.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just so that I wouldn't take the whole thing, and
Now you were a big celebrity in those days of
yeah.
the
Well,
the
it's like
cocaine.
it's the old Robin Williams line. Cocaine habits are God's way of telling you you're making way too much money.
Well, that's the question I was going to ask. You were a celebrity, and during the what is it, the 80s cocaine days, did you find that you were providing cocaine for other people, or you got cocaine from other people because you were?
I got cocaine from other people, but I would share it.
That's what
I
I
would
think.
share it.
Yeah.
But I figure I spent about maybe $1,000 a month on cocaine.
I don't suppose that's a lot. You were making
That's not a lot. I was making about $400,000 a year then.
Okay, that's fine.
So
12 grand a year
Yeah.
versus 4.
was God's way of telling me I was making too much money.
Yeah, I guess.
But I'll tell you what I found out about cocaine. I went down to Miami and I quit. What a place to quit, right? But I quit.
Yeah,
And it wasn't that difficult to quit. I thought it was going to be.
that's when you started working in Miami.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I came back to California, and about a year in, I figured, I'll do just a little bit of coke, because what's got to happen is you remember how coke was the first time you ever had it? Was terrific,
No, I only had it once, didn't like it.
And you
so
remember the last time you had it, and it was just kind of like, okay, I'm just doing it to maintain myself, right? So it's got to be different if I do it after a year, 2 years of not doing it, right? I'll get that first initial bounce. No, it's right where you left off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's right where you left off.
It's
So it
just
was
kinda
at that
like,
point
yeah.
I decided this is not for me. So. And at that point I think I quit all drugs. I think I quit pot, everything,
But you kept smoking, though.
Cigarettes?
Yeah.
No, I quit cigarettes earlier, oddly enough.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your brand? What kind of smokes did you get?
Sherman's cigarettellos.
Really?
Yes.
What a snob. Sherman's.
They were,
You
yeah.
didn't like have a Marlboro.
I think maybe
Gold or-
they saved my life because they didn't have any additives.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And
Must
cigarettes.
have tasted horrible.
Cigarettes here. No, they had to make them taste good by putting in really premium tobacco. That's
And
why
how,
they cost
how
so
much more were the Shermans? They were pretty.
Well, in those days they
expensive.
were like $2 a box or something, but that was when cigarettes were like 50 cents a pack.
right.
You
Right.
know, so
What do you know what cigarettes go for up in New York now? That's
I
still
have
among
no idea.
highest.
Last time I heard a price, I heard something like $12 a pack.
Oh, I thought it'd be more than that, like 15.
Maybe, I don't know. It may have gone up.
Wow, how do people do that? I don't see spending that on cigarettes.
And you really, folks, if you're smoking, stop smoking. It's not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
You know,
and
it's-
it makes you smell bad too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So whatever. Well, I don't know. We're going to run over a little bit here, but I used to find women sexy who had cigarette breath. Is that weird?
That's your thing. That's your thing. There's no such thing as weird.
I guess it just said to me, she's got to be a cheap slut. Yeah, yeah. No, she's got cigarette smoke on her breath.
You're going to get emails from the women who smoke.
Oh boy!
How dare you think I'm a cheap slut just because I smoke?
Yeah, right. Well, you're an idiot if you smoke. Yeah. So, anyway, hey, listen. Always a pleasure talking to you, my dear friend.
It is.
And I enjoy these little conversations. It's wasn't rough to do, was it?
It never is. No,
never is.
You beat up on me, I beat up on you.
Yeah, and we'll do it again in a couple of weeks. Stick around after this is over so we can talk a little bit. But anyway, that's Albert Reynoso, folks, and glad you could meet him. He's really fun. Bye.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And boy, I love we started out by hating each other. Really, we did not like each other, and over the years we became close friends. I mean, is that amazing? But anyway, that's Albert Reynoso. I hope you enjoyed him. There were some people out there like Forbin Colossus who were snobbish and say things like, remember comedians? How is Steven? Oh, it's not funny. Yeah, right. See. Then somebody said, it's hilarious. Albert is a funny guy. I agree with you. And I don't like people saying anything negative on this chat about people who are on this program. And the reason I don't like it is I think it's just mean-spirited and it's trolling. And I don't appreciate it. Okay? So take that, Forbin. Anyway, let me see here. I think, we can admit some people here. There are only a couple, but, we'll do it. And here they come. Let me see here. Here comes, there's Jeff. And there's Josh. And here comes Brian. Hello, Brian.
Wow, good. We didn't have to bail out. Josh got on. Good job.
Yeah. And here comes Brian. Oh, here we go again. I thought Jeff had finally figured this thing out.
Josh got on. Good job.
Yeah. Josh, just kill your browser. Just get rid of the browser.
You mean Jeff?
Jeff, get rid of the browser.
I think I did it.
Oh, okay. Now okay. Hello, everybody. How are you this evening? Josh is with us this evening, a day early. What do we have this pleasure?
I'm off tomorrow because I had a root canal earlier, so...
Oh, really? Oh, they're pleasurable, aren't they?
God, it was fucking terrible.
You know what's terrible about it? Doesn't hurt. It's not painful. It just takes forever.
Yeah, now it's gonna be really sore after, but I'm very well stocked with, opioids, so...
Oh, really? Okay.
They gave me some more too, but I already had my own. But it took 3 hours.
Wow.
And like the whole time they've got fucking shit jammed down your throat. It's like, fuck.
Is this your first root canal?
Yeah, I had never had one. I had managed to make it, over 40 years without needing one. And then, so I didn't really think it was going to be like that bad. And like the procedure didn't hurt, but it was incredibly uncomfortable.
Well, that's the point.
God damn.
Actually, you know what it was? Years ago, when I would get a root canal, they'd give me gas.
Yeah.
And I just go into La La Land. I mean, you were awake and everything, but I was in La La Land, and he could do anything he wanted to, and he could take as long as he wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It just took.
But now it just seems like they take forever to do a root canal. You would have thought by now they would have gotten used to doing them, and it would have gotten faster at them.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, but it took forever, so I don't know really why. I really don't know anything about that. I mean, I understood it, I guess, a little bit enough, but they just did all kinds of stuff, and I mean it was just ridiculous.
Let me see. I'm frozen here.
Yeah, I saw that, but sounds like you're still there though.
Here we
But
go.
yeah, I had to. They put this like what they called a dental dam
Mm.
in, where they like. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
fucking. Yeah, I mean, it's like what the fuck.
What
If I'd
the-
have known this, I'd rather just spent like twice the money and just had it pulled and then bought an implant. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you can pull it in 10 minutes, and then you know the implant post and everything can't take this long.
I'm just trying to figure out what I got to do here. It won't fix itself. Well, there, I did that.
Yeah.
And now let me see if I can do this. Okay, there we go. Okay.
But part of the issue that I had with the tooth was like right at the gum line and everything, so they had to do a lot of work down there, and they said that it was gonna be like really sore afterwards, and I can tell that it probably would have been had I not taken all these pain pills. But so I mean, I guess it was bad, but whatever, it's fine. I mean, I don't mind. It was just, I don't know, I just couldn't believe it takes that long. I mean, what the heck really does take that long? I don't know, but it did. So,
Wow.
you know, and they were there the whole time, so they were working. I mean, you know, it's like they messed around, and they were really nice and everything. So it was fine, you know, but it was just, I don't know, it was just unpleasant.
Yeah.
But I'm off.
You
You know, I'm
guys
off.
talk with each other. I'm going to try and keep fixing this thing.
And then also it depends where you get it, because I had to have one in the back, and so my mouth is just like.
Well, that's where mine was too, you know, but and that's what I'm saying. My jaw was propped open for like 3. I mean, you know, I mean that's. I mean, I don't know. It was just, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have had them. I mean, I had never needed one, you know, before, but it was just, I don't know, man. It was just crazy that it takes forever. I mean, I really don't know. And then you still got to go back and get more stuff done, you know.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, the permanent crown and all that has to go back and get that all done and everything. So, you know, I mean, plus the original visit where I went in and had it looked at because I was having some pain. It's going to end up being like 3 trips, and I mean, all that.
But that's how the implants are too. The implant, you gotta.
Well, right.
They'll yank the tooth, and then they I don't know if they sew it up and they let that heal,
I
and
believe
then they cut it open to put the pin in, and then they sew that up, and then they let that heal. But when they let it heal, they want to see you right away, like in a couple weeks, like 4 weeks, just to
Right.
make sure everything's healing. And then you come in, and then they got to do that, and the tooth, and oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But I guess at least with those, it seems like they wouldn't have to go through all that extensive, like that dental dam and all that fucking drilling and all. It's just like, what the hell, man? But yeah, it's over with now, I guess. Hopefully. So
Yeah.
it was just, you know.
Implants are expensive here. They're like $10,000 in the Bay Area.
No, they're
Yeah.
5,000.
Thank you. I was quoted 10 a couple weeks
Well,
ago.
then you got ripped off.
I didn't buy it, so thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
Like your picture, Alex. You
I know that's another part of the room, and it's another camera.
They
And-
the implants here were cheaper than that, but I mean, I really, you know, I didn't have to pay too much for this. So I was just thought I was doing the right thing, you know, but rather than having it pulled and all that, you know, I was just trying to do the right thing. But after like the first 45 minutes, I was like, man, I made a mistake here. You know, this is.
I missed the
Yes.
first part. Do you have a root canal or something?
Yeah. So.
And then they crown it afterwards?
Oh, they will. Yeah, there's a temporary there, but.
Good.
But
What does
yeah,
that cost?
so I mean,
What does that
overall,
cost
not you know, I mean, is what it was. I mean, it was just unpleasant, but you know, be okay. So
What is the those 2 procedures cost there where you're at, Josh?
for everything, I think I paid around $900. So
You have dental insurance that pays for part of it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know what their portion even was. I'm sure they'll break it down if I wanted them to. They told me what my cost was, and I said, go ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't want to have it extracted, and I didn't want it to keep hurting. So, what really choice do you have, I guess? But
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, but it was just, it's the way it was.
They're probably talking about $2,500 here in the Bay Area for those two procedures for the cleaning
Yeah.
out and the crown.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, if we're taking 3 hours and all the shit they have to do, it's like,
Wow.
you guys owe me some fentanyl or something, because anybody who has to sit through this shit at least deserves something. Like heroin, cocaine, you fucking owe me something for my money. But it was fun. Did
I've
the
never
camera
had
working? Is it broke?
Well, I got this one working.
You're
here.
back now.
Yeah, I got this. I got it. It's another. It's another camera.
Why you look so short now?
Your other one
really.
just crap out on you?
Hmm?
Your other one just crap out?
No,
You
it
came
didn't
back a few times and it was working.
It didn't crap on me, but it did something where it got all,
Yeah.
Uh,
We had, I guess since no one probably wants to hear about the dentist, but we had that special election Tuesday that was pretty big.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if people understand the whole background of that, but in Ohio, really for forever, over 100 years, ballot initiatives by the citizens here have taken, the procedure to put them on a ballot, and then you could have a ballot initiative during any of these statewide elections, May, November, whatever. And it would take 50% plus one, so just a simple majority, to amend or change the state constitution via the citizens' ballot initiative. And it's always been that way. Well, when the Supreme Court did their deal on the abortion rights, Roe v. Wade, whatever, recently, groups around the country in many states started saying, okay, we need to wake up and do what we said what we should have done all along, and we're going to do all these statewide initiatives. And then those initiatives went into a few other states and they passed, including some conservative states like Kansas, for example, and one or two others. And they garnered all the signatures and everything, and they got one on the ballot for here in Ohio. So the Republican legislature here looks at that and says, oh, that's going to pass. 50% plus one, it's passing in all these places. They're going to pass it here. So what do? They hurry up and pass a law, an initiative that says, well, I guess to back up, the initiative that we were going to vote on for abortion rights to codify basically the previous Roe v. Wade language was going to be on the ballot in November. They knew it was going to pass. So they said, what can we do about it? So the state legislature here gets together and puts their own initiative on the ballot, which the legislature here has the right to do, saying that instead of the 50% plus one, they wanted to change it to a supermajority of 60% to change the state constitution. And we're not going to put that on the ballot in November with everything else. We're going to hurry up and do a standalone election in August just for that. Thinking what they could do was sneak that in there, and that a lot of people wouldn't show up and vote for a one-day election for one issue, and that they could change it so the state constitution couldn't be changed, and then that stuff wouldn't go through in November. And they got whipped here. I mean, first of all, the turnout was incredibly high, like 4 or 5 million people, and I think the state population's like 8.5, something like that. So, I don't know, it might be more than that, but the turnout was very high, and the initiative lost like 55, 45, 60, 40, somewhere in that range. I didn't go back and look at the final numbers. I mean, they called it at like 8 o'clock, and polls closed at 7. So, I mean, that's good. That kept our state constitution the way that it was. So now in November, we have this initiative to basically add the previous Roe language into the state constitution, which means that, then they really can't take it away. So, but the whole time they tried to frame it a million different ways. But I mean, what they did was so sneaky. I mean, it was just, but it really wasn't even, well, it's not even sneaky. They did it out in the open. I mean, it was just nefarious. It was just, we know this issue is going to lose. So how anti-democratic can we be? Let's go try to make a special election to change the way that we know these people are going to vote in November. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, but it didn't pass, thankfully. My wife and I voted. So
is there a huge campaign to go out and vote?
It was a pretty big deal here.
So, I mean, what does this mean, though? I can't figure that out. What were you voting on specifically?
The only thing we were voting on Tuesday was the procedure for what it took to change the Constitution via the citizens' ballot initiatives. Like, citizens can go and get signatures, right?
Yeah.
And put an initiative on the ballot that says we want to change the state constitution or add on to it or whatever.
Yeah.
And for forever, in order for that to pass, it's just been a simple majority, 50% plus one vote. A simple majority. And they had proposed to change that from 50% to 60%. And we all watch elections enough to know that hardly anything ever gets 60%, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very rarely does anything anywhere get 60%. But this November, there were two things on the ballot that Republicans can't stand. There was an abortion initiative, and in Ohio, there's also going to be a full legalization of marijuana initiative. They have medical marijuana in Ohio, but they do not have, what do you call it? Recreational or whatever. That's going to be on the ballot too because they gathered enough signatures. Well, the politicians don't want it to pass. So what do? They hurry up and pass a law that says, no, we want to change the Constitution suddenly so that it doesn't take 50%. Now it takes 60%. And the citizens voted it down. So, I mean, but the good news is through, Kansas and Ohio and Michigan and there's like 4 or 5 other states already that have done this. They're going to pass these statewide constitutional amendments to basically codify the language of Roe v. Wade, some of them even more liberalized than that. And the good news is there is nothing that the Supreme Court can or will do about it because these are going to be legalized state constitutional amendments, and they do not violate the federal Constitution.
So what did this mean, though? What I don't get is, what did this mean for Roe v. Wade? Did it mean anything, or was it just the process they could use to get rid of Roe v. Wade?
Well, I don't know that it meant anything for Roe v. Wade at all. It was just here in Ohio. I mean, all the Ohio ballot initiative in November is going to do is basically go back to the way things were in Ohio before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And it's basically going to do that by simply taking the language that used to be in the old Supreme Court ruling of Roe v. Wade with however many weeks it was, and and then even after those weeks, all your exceptions, rape, abortion, life of the mother, the whole run of those, and it's going to put it in our Constitution that's the law in the state of Ohio now. And all it's going to take to pass that this November is 50% plus one, like it always did. And you're probably going to get that because this November will be a midterm. So you're probably going to see pretty good turnout, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are going to be a lot of Republicans and a lot of Republican women, I think, that still might vote for a Republican candidate for Congress or whatever like that, but are still going to click that yes button on that particular abortion right, because even if they don't even want to tell people about it, in their mind, I think they say, I don't know, I still could get pregnant, I don't know how I feel about that, so, I mean, So it'll probably pass. I mean, especially if you go off the number of the way that the ballot initiative failed here. Like I said, I should probably look it up, but I think it was at least like 55, 45. I mean, that's a pretty good number now. I mean, that's what I'm saying is they thought it was going to pass, so, and because they thought they would see low turnout, they put it in an August election, which, by the way, just 2 years ago, they did away with August special elections and said, no, we can't have those anymore. If there's ballot initiatives, they got to go in November. They undid everything that they had done the last couple of years, all because they thought it would work for them and no one would notice. And, people did notice. I mean, to me, they noticed. But it's followed a trend. It's followed Kansas, Wisconsin, Michigan. Now it's going to be in Ohio. There's 2 or 3. Vermont, I know, did something.
North Dakota.
Yeah. So right. Yeah. So, really, in all honesty, this is the way it should have been all along: is people handling their business by themselves, without having to involve courts. And when their lawmakers wouldn't get it done for them, they would just go do it, for themselves. So, I think what is happening is what we suspected might have happened when the Roe decision and all this was overturned, was that if people were really that upset about it, they would go out and they would do something about it. And in some of these states, they are. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a handful of states where it's probably never going to happen. Probably. I mean, I don't know if Alabama and Mississippi are ever going to be able to take that leap. But a lot of these states are, I mean, I hear Texas is close. It's 10 years ago, it was probably a never going to happen, right? Or whatever. But it's not so much that way anymore. So, Georgia 10 years ago was probably a never going to happen. I don't know. If they throw a ballot initiative on there in Georgia during a midterm or during a presidential election year, when they have really good turnout, they might get it, right? So,
well, it might well be that the feeling, at least where Roe v. Wade is concerned, about the people who want to stop Roe v. Wade as being so pernicious out there is not a realistic attitude.
Right.
That maybe, just maybe, people go, I'm a conservative this way, I'm a conservative that way, but when it comes to Roe v. Wade, I'm for it existing.
Yeah, because some of these states went way beyond.
Well, also a lot of those conservative voters are women.
Well, that's right. You're right.
And they're not going to who is Roe v. Wade a conservative, a conservative versus liberal thing, or is it?
I mean, it is. It is in the large macro sense of political battles, but I think when you get right down to the individual people, outside of probably your strong Christian community, that's what I'm saying is I think there are a number of men and women who are not, devout religiously, etc., but who vote with some Republican politics. But on that particular deal, look at what they've tried to do here, which was like 6 weeks with really no exceptions, and they say, man, that's too much. I mean, they just say that's too far. I'm 39 years old and I vote for Republicans and all that, but man, my wife could accidentally get pregnant and we could really have they're saying I've already got 2 kids.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that.
One of them's 14.
Yeah.
We're almost done. I got to start over. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I know a lot of people my age have got kids that just graduated. They don't fucking want to have another kid.
Right. Jeff?
I got 4 granddaughters who are all old, they're in college and stuff like that. They're very risky on this whole business.
Right.
And their parents really got to make a different decision.
Well, if you're lucky enough to live in a state like New York, that it's no problem. But if
Right.
you live in a state like Texas where Charlie is, tell him, Charlie.
Yeah. Well, what school do they go to? What college in what state?
Yeah, but
This
yeah.
changes the world.
What were you going to say, Charlie?
I don't know if y'all seen the testimony that a lot of the women are doing at the legislature, testifying against the abortion bill here in Texas. Is women that can't, because of the way the law is worded, doctors won't give them abortions when they absolutely need one. You have a baby born and the ultrasound shows or the x-ray shows there's no brain, so there's no way that baby's going to survive once it comes out. And they cannot abort that baby because the doctors don't want to be sued for $10,000 for 100 different people. The way the law is worded, it could be. And so they have to sit there and bring this dead baby basically to term, and the baby's born, they give her the baby, and then the baby dies in her arms because there's no brain.
It's cruel. It is just cruel.
Or drive 800 miles.
Yes, what were you going to say? Alan, you had your hand
I
up.
was going to make a joke that's the baby with no brain is how they get Republicans. It's not really funny. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's not.
I thought about it and put my hand down. I thought that's.
I mean,
these women testifying are so sick they're throwing up just telling their stories. They get so physically sick.
Yeah.
I would suspect I know a lot of people that would vote for that because, they would say, I don't really know if we want another child and all that. And if they did have that come up, a lot of them are probably saying, we probably still would go ahead. But the point is, I want to be able for us to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want us to find out, oh, nope, it's been just past 6 weeks. Sorry.
And also, the state that has the most maternal mortalities of all the 50 states is Texas. More women die in childbirth in Texas than any other state in the country. Even Mississippi and Alabama don't have that rate.
Yeah. Yes, Tony.
On a side note, I wasn't. My brother told me this. It's a joke, I guess. It wasn't a joke. I wasn't planned. My mother and father. He said went because there's an age gap. They went to a wedding, and my father was drunk. He says you were definitely not planned. But she had me though, so thank God.
Yeah, that was her decision.
Yeah, that was she was never not going to have me. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
This was the
either that or 2 more inches, and you would have been a butt fuck.
You could be right. My father's like.
This has kind of been the idea that Bill Clinton had been trying to give Democrats the last couple of years. I heard him talking in an interview about it on Morning Joe recently, where he said, I think the polls and my experience indicates a lot of these things are really not popular amongst people at the ground level, but we're never asking them to make the decision at the ground level. We're always relying on Washington politicians or the Supreme Court. And he said, why don't you go back to their home base and start getting some decisions made there? You need to get these gun laws and these abortion laws and these marijuana laws and get those ideas out of Washington. And you need to start beating these people at their own game, look, Bill Clinton was a successful politician. Even if you don't like him, you would have to admit that some of the stuff that he says is actually pretty smart, so maybe follow some of that advice. And it's, and that's what they're doing. So, that's good. It's just like he said, he realized this when Al Gore ran for president. He said, and I'm watching the results come in, and I see that Al Gore loses in Colorado to George Bush in that 2000 election, and he loses to George Bush in Colorado by like 10 points, which is a whooping. But in that same state, in that same election, people in Colorado voted to make universal background checks a solid deal before you could buy a gun in that state, and it passed like 70-30. It's like that was a light bulb for me that said, who you vote for president doesn't always mean who you're going to vote for some of these one-off issues. We can go into these states and beat people, but people wouldn't listen to him, or even people on the right who tried to do that kind of stuff. They instead just said, that's a lot of work, costs a lot of money, take a lot of time. We're better off to just let the lawyers and the judges handle it. Well, how's that? That's not been working out very well for us, right? So it's good to see that they're spending some time and they're spending some money, and they're going into some of these states where you would think they would never be able to get something like that passed, like a Kansas, for example. And they're saying, you know what? I think we can get a majority of the people to say, yeah, we want Trump for president, but we also want to be able to have abortion rights in this state.
Yeah.
And take what victories you can get. Make the states just a little bit better, you know? I mean, and that's probably it's a good idea in my opinion. Seems to be working so far.
Speaking of, we're talking about Roe v. Wade, and of course that begs the question about the Supreme Court. The latest stuff to come out on Clarence Thomas is so pernicious and so horrible. I mean, somebody should just say, let's take a vote here in Congress and let's impeach him. You know? I mean, it's almost like the guy looked at it as a personal bank account.
Yeah.
You know, that he could draw from anytime he needed money or needed something or needed a car or needed a vacation or whatever. So.
Yeah, they should at least open up an official investigation for a possible, you know, impeachment proceeding. I mean, because, you know, Justice Thomas has had this, you know, arrogant, fuck you, I'll get you back, I'm entitled to this attitude since he was run through the ringer at his confirmation.
Yeah.
You know, rightly or wrong. But I'm just saying that's what he has had, and I don't know him at all, right? So this is just me saying, but it's like he feels like these things are okay because we fucked him, you know? I mean, you know, like we owe that to him, you know? I mean, it's like you really worked me over, and now this is okay because, you know, I deserve it or whatever. I mean, you know that he has to know that isn't right.
But you think she's not going to get caught,
right? I mean, I mean,
well, it's almost as though he felt he had the right to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, well, that's what I'm saying, right? I mean, I work for a company now, and I worked for one before that does all this code of conduct training and all this stuff every year.
Yep.
That says if I'm a salesman and I'm trying to sell you paint, you can't give me anything more than a free can koozie or whatever without me saying no or reporting it. And I mean, you know that justice on the Supreme Court knows that this wouldn't fly anywhere, let alone at the highest branch of one of the highest point of one of the branches of government. I mean, even if it technically or untechnically or whatever wasn't illegal, I mean, it's just not right, and he knows that it's not right. But I think you said he feels entitled to it because he feels what was done to him wasn't right, and it's all good now because, you know, he deserves it.
Jeff?
Yeah, can't the Supreme Court make a decision by those six of them or whatever, 7 of them? 8, I guess it is now, that goodbye, kick them out.
Well, they can't.
8, 9.
They can't get rid of him.
I don't think they can do that.
No, they can't do that.
Congress has to do it.
They could by proxy, maybe.
Congress can get rid of a Supreme Court
Yeah,
judge,
you have to
can't
be
they?
impeached in front of the Senate to be kicked out.
To be removed, that's the only way. I mean, like I was gonna say, you know, don't get me wrong, they could sort of ostracize him from within or whatever and take away things, you know, but they can't make him quit. They can't fire him. I mean, but look, the legislative branch can. They have oversight here. They're just not using it.
They're not
Right.
doing
We're not using it yet, but I mean, you know, in the time that we live in, it's at a time when we're impeaching presidents at a high rate, and you know, I mean, it would just look bad and it would look ugly, and it would be bad and it would be ugly. But you know, if something needs done, something needs done.
Yeah.
You know, and something does need done. I mean, it ought to be a lesson to all of them, you know, that they need to watch themselves pretty closely, but he just doesn't seem to get it, you know.
He doesn't seem to get it. Right.
I like I said, I think he's aware of all of this. He just, I mean, maybe, like I say, I'm completely wrong. I don't know him, obviously, never met him, but I'm just saying, I know that he is bitter about the way that he got to where he's gotten. And he just strikes me as a person who just can't give it up and just thinks they fucking owe me this, you know? I want it and I'm allowed to have it. And just because I have that job shouldn't mean I can't go on fancy things and all that. But you know what? It does. And that's the job that you asked for. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that he complained about not making any money on this job, and then he'd rather be in an RV park and everything else, and then he gets on a freaking private jet and everything else.
Right.
That's also a bunch of bullshit. You know, he's pulling the wool over people's eyes. He's trying to anyway, over the years, and then complains about his salary and everything else. I mean, I don't know. It's more than bad optics.
Yeah.
A lot more than bad optics.
You have to give stuff up to get jobs that you want or whatever. You know, I mean, there are people out there that get jobs that come with certain things and give up other things. I mean,
right.
You know, I mean,
You want to serve your country.
all across the spectrum. I mean, do you think that NFL football coaches spend a lot of time with their families? You know,
Nope.
no. Right. I mean, you know, but that's because they got a job that pays $8 million a year, you know.
Serious about, passionate about.
Right.
And you know, these politicians aren't passionate anymore with all the lobbying, all the money that gets flying around.
Well, you know, I just think I've heard that the Supreme Court at one time, in a lot of cases, has been kind of skeezy. You know, there have been periods of time, many years ago, but we always looked at the Supreme Court, at least in present time, as something special. You know, as something of extreme dignity and honesty and so on, and we go before all these honest jurists and say, what do you think? And unfortunately, I mean, a guy like Clarence Thomas has no business being on the Supreme Court with all that he's done. He should have known better than that, you know? If nothing more, because of the discredit that it brings upon the court if he's found out doing it, which was going to happen eventually.
Sure.
More now than ever before, because we live in times where we go after people like this.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of element still there of good quality integrity on the court. You know, I don't think that a bad apple can, you know, we shouldn't let it spoil the entire batch, you know, but he definitely is a problem for them. And look, you know, we don't know this. They're never going to do this in the open. We don't know that behind the scenes, and I'm sure at least some of them are probably really ready for him to get the hell out, you know? I mean, you know,
do you think he's going to go? Do you think he's going to go on his own though?
You know, I don't think so. I mean, I doubt it. You know, because I think he's too prideful for that. I mean, personally, you know, look, I'm sure the Chief Justice doesn't want this. You know, I mean, he's on a real quest to try to fix the court's image and integrity and thing, and he knows that it's damaged. I mean, I don't think it's damaged so much that we can't trust him to make decisions. I mean, like I said, I think the element is still there that the court is trustworthy and has integrity, and there are a lot of good people on there and a lot of good people working there and things like that. And, you know, this issue is front and center, so it makes them look terrible. I don't think it's systemic to the whole legislative branch or anything like that. I think it's pretty isolated to him, you know, for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's been some other allegations here and there, some other stuff that's obviously much smaller. But, you know, but to me, Congress should do their job here, and they should say, you know, that's whose job this really is. I mean, this is Congress's job. I mean, really, it's not the Chief Justice's job. If it were for the Chief Justice to do, the framers would have set it up so the Chief Justice could get rid of the guy.
Yeah.
But they didn't think that it should be that way. If you think they should have, well, then, you know, that's an argument, you know, you can have or we can have. But they said, no, the legislative branch should. They confirm these people, they should take them away. And they said, you know, they should do their job. They're just not doing their job. You know, but now maybe that'll change in a few months, or maybe he hangs in there, and then after the midterms, the Democrats have the Senate 55-45 or something, where they feel more comfortable, you know, with making a move. But I mean, honestly, and this is not just Democrats, everyone would do it. I think they're just too scared right now to do it. I think they think if they did it right now, that they're gone in the midterms, and I think that their opinion is he can't really, you know, like ruin the country before the midterms. I mean, you know, they just think the cost is the risk or reward there is not, you know, enough for them.
Hold on a second. Adrian and I are making faces at each other. What's she saying, Brian?
I'm muted. She's yelling at me. Okay, you change your face? No, change your face when I go down. There you go.
There, now trying it again.
Okay, say goodnight. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Okay, goodnight.
Good night.
A poop.
Go poop.
What did she say?
Poop.
A poop.
Go. Good night. See you tomorrow.
What did she just say?
She said poop.
She has to poop?
No, she just said poop.
Oh, just said poop.
I said go poop.
Okay.
She said I don't have to poop.
Yeah, when you get out of your office, you're going to find a pile sitting in the middle of the floor, you know.
So I just changed to the worst camera I own, and it looks better than the other cameras. It's amazing. Oh, boy.
But yeah, if I had to guess, I would say Senate Democrats are they're just scared because they know that even if they move forward, the votes are not there, right? The 2/3 needed for impeachment.
Well,
2/3.
Well,
you know, so they say
you can just try.
Well, I get it.
You know,
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I'm
because
just saying
the Republicans live with that. They
Yeah,
live with the
I'm just
knowledge that
trying
the
to-
Democrats aren't going to do anything because they're afraid of losing.
Yes. And that's all I'm saying is I'm trying to sit here in my mind and say, if I'm the Senate Democratic leader and, you know, all that, walk me through it. And they're saying it's not going to happen. The votes aren't there. Okay. It's 0% chance. So why make ourselves look bad coming into the mid? You know, I'm just saying I'm sure that's what it is, you know.
Okay. Let me change the
And
subject
that's
here.
that's the disconnect between now and our framers, is our framers said, well, people will do the right thing.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, guess again.
You know.
Let me go to Charlie a second. I want to change the subject a little bit. You know something that pisses me off, Charlie, and I don't know how you feel about this, but they just sent a bunch of people up to the edge of space. What do they call that rim there? It's called there's a name for it. With the
Low Earth orbit? No.
huh?
Low Earth orbit? I don't know.
No, there's a name for it. It's kind of just the rim of space. It's where you leave our atmosphere and you kind of enter space and you start floating. Okay, so they sent a bunch of people up in the what do you call it? Virgin Galactic ship. Okay. And then, we're in space. We're floating around for 3 minutes. What do you mean you're floating around for 3 minutes? If you're either in space or you're not floating around in it for 3 minutes. And I just think it cheapens the whole thing, don't you? I mean,
Yeah. I don't really consider that being in space, really.
I mean, I don't consider
orbit, actual orbit.
what Bezos is doing with his penis rocket, you know, is any more space travel than anything else. Now, what SpaceX does is space travel.
Yeah.
You know, they're traveling through space and they go up to the space station.
Space station, yeah.
Yeah. But it pisses me off because it cheapens the whole process. And I'd like for people to have a little more feeling of wonder than, hey, here a bunch of people took a joyride today. You know, and they were all civilians too. Even the person who was flying the plane was a civilian. Yes, Alan.
So Bezos was in the business news a week or two ago, bought a big chunk privately held SpaceX
Well, he did?
stock. Yeah, it's not publicly it's not a publicly held corporation.
So he bought into SpaceX?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you
It's a
think
smart move.
Do you think it might be a move on his part to finally push Musk out?
No, I don't think so. I think I just think he's looking for a good investment.
Yeah, but he's got his own rocket. You know.
Well, it's not doing what SpaceX is doing.
Well, supposedly they're expecting, at least NASA's expecting to use Bezos's rocket, you know, but Bezos's rocket hasn't gotten any higher than that. I can't remember the name of it now, that rim.
A certain atmosphere or something, yeah.
Yeah,
Is it the exosphere?
No, there's a name for it, and it's I can't remember the name, but
I don't know. I think Bezos probably has the money to have SpaceX build him a rocket that'll take him to outer space, and he doesn't want to do that yet. So, or they
well,
won't.
no, but he did it's kind of a cheap hat trick they're doing. You can get a rocket that can go up that far. And it's not that hard to make a rocket that does that now because we have the technology for it.
So you're saying that Bezos called you, Alex, and said, we want to put you in this thing with us? You want to go for a ride?
I don't know if I would consider it, no. I mean, if SpaceX tomorrow said, you want to ride in our thing, I'd go in a
go to the space station. You could broadcast from the International Space Station.
Yeah. But I mean,
they've got those zero-G planes you can go up in, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Well, when it comes to satellites, they have two different levels of in distance. They have low-level orbit, high-level orbit. I never heard of the not being in. If you get out of Earth's atmosphere and you're in space, you're in space. I didn't know that there was.
Well, there is a. They only go up to the place where you suddenly are weightless. Okay, they don't go beyond that.
Well, that could be anywhere. You could fly up 100,000 feet, and as long as you're flying a parabola, you're weightless.
Well, yes, you can create the weightlessness, but you can't go somewhere where you're weightless just by the lack of gravity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear Mars.
That's when you're orbiting the Earth. That's when you're truly weightless, is because you're flying in such a way that when the Earth pulls you down, you're actually flying around the edge of the Earth.
Yeah.
You don't actually go to the ground.
Well, you're in an orbit.
Yeah.
But these things don't even go into an orbit. They're not even suborbital.
No, not the ones that they were talking about. The one that William Shatner went up in didn't go into orbit.
No, it just goes up, hangs out there for about a minute or two. You know, you float around, you go wee, and then Bezos gives you your astronaut wings. You know. And I just think there's something
that had to be something for William Shatner. All the Star Trek movies and getting actually live long enough to get on the edge of space.
Yeah.
Not many people will get that opportunity.
Well, we were, oddly enough, we were pretty much traveling into space by the time Star Trek came out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we were orbiting. Yeah, they came out in '66, and so we had orbited the planet.
Right, we were on the moon by '69.
Yep.
And when did Star Trek come out the first time? 63?
66.
66?
Yeah, 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in space by then.
Yeah,
So
except he wasn't in space.
no, but what I'm saying is, you said that he must in his time to be able to see that. Well, we saw it. It's just that we didn't really commit ourselves to it. We had a president who said we want to get there before the Russians do, and once we got up there before the Russians did, that was it for us.
Yeah.
People are gonna.
That president was Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to say to yourself, why didn't we go back? Why didn't we do more? Why did we stop there? And there were a lot of people down here on Earth saying, oh, we have more important things to do here on Earth. Yeah, but we have just as many important things to do in space. And that's the thing they never got. And by the way, NASA's trying to juice up America to go to the moon and colonize the moon. And do you think most Americans care about that? They really don't. They should, but they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lucky, Charlie. If you can live to be like 90, maybe you'll see somebody land on Mars.
Yep.
But I never will. And the reason I never will is because they stopped doing anything in space. Once they came up with the shuttle, it was like NASA shipping and hauling. And that was about it for like 30 years.
Yeah, I even saw a picture of the little craft that they're going to take down to the moon,
Mm-hmm.
And I even was like, damn, it looks like the original. I mean, with newer.
No, the plan is that SpaceX is actually going to land one of their super rockets on the moon.
Well, I don't know. I just saw the little module that's supposed to.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Same thing.
Well,
that the Apollo program used with,
Correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Whatever, I guess.
Charlie would know this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie. China, they've landed on the moon, haven't they?
Not a manned space.
No, but they've landed on the moon.
They landed a robot.
Yeah,
rocket.
and they had a rover. Does anybody know that? Didn't know it, did you? Has Russia done it yet? No.
They crashed into the moon. I don't think Russia's actually landed.
Yeah. Yes.
Alan.
According to NASA, the levels from the lowest to highest major levels are stratosphere, metrosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, and the edge of outer space.
That's all they call it. Yes, just the edge of outer space.
No, but there was a term that I've heard associated with. They said we went up to the blah blah blah.
Okay.
Is it the Kármán line?
The Kármán line. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. Yeah, they take it. That's what they did yesterday. They went up to the Kármán line.
Okay.
Now at that point,
That's the edge of space. Yeah.
At that point, you start floating.
And
they go up there to float. They don't go up there to do anything else. Are they on?
They only stay up there for a few
and then
minutes.
they come back and they give them their astronaut wings. What? That's going to be big news to Alan Shepard.
It wouldn't take that much more energy just to put them up there in the low Earth orbit and stay up there for three or four orbits.
Do they have to come back to the atmosphere, like the shuttles and all that stuff, though? Is it a bigger risk?
Coming back?
I'm sure.
Going that much further. Because obviously he's not doing it for a reason.
Well,
with re-entry and all that, I don't know.
Re-entry, you have to be able to. I don't know if re-entry of that plane is the same as re-entry, say, for a SpaceX craft.
It's
all right?
probably not.
Probably
you
not.
have
You're going to need heat shields of some sort.
Yeah, the heat shield, like on, you have the
speed.
risk of the heat shield failing, like on Challenge.
12,000 miles an hour coming back into Earth's atmosphere.
You can't just
Causes a
go
lot
up
of
there and
friction.
touch it and then come back. You got to go up, go deep in, and then come flying back out.
Flying back out, yeah.
Because you got to grab gravity.
Do any of you watch, what's her name, Harley Quinn?
I didn't start watching
the cartoon series.
Oh,
The
my
last
God.
episode, they had a rocket that looked just like Bezos's, but it looked like a penis, okay? Which Bezos's rocket does. In fact, the swoosh on for Amazon looks like a penis. I mean, he has some kind of subliminal thing there.
Yeah.
But anyway, the rocket takes off, and it's got, this crown on the top of it and all of that. And what comes out the back of it to shoot it into space? Sperm.
Phil's probably gonna get jealous now, Alex. If he is this. Phil's gonna get jealous.
Who's going to get jealous?
Phil,
Why-
I heard the
why
show
would he
like
be
that,
jealous?
his treatments.
Why would he be jealous? I don't understand.
Yeah, why would he be jealous?
You know, I guess. Well, maybe you're right.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Remember you said you couldn't get the pee-pee hard? I'm guessing that the Bezos has got that big thing like in Blaze. And I guess
You mean Phil
Yeah.
has to get shots in his penis?
Yeah, I still find that funny. I told him not to tell you that, but
Yeah, you thought root canals were painful.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does that.
But
I don't know. I think I'd just tell you where the bomb was. Just don't stick anything in, you know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
Anything you want to know. I don't know who would voluntarily. I don't know.
But getting back to where we started off, I got to tell you, root canals are
arduous.
Arduous.
Yes.
I don't understand, what it's supposed to be. Why it can't be better by now? It's been many years.
It seemed, it was a little.
I mean, the last time I went and got one, I was kind of yelling at my dentist. I was yelling at her, do you think you could speed this up just a little bit?
Not if you don't want it to get infected.
Yeah, I guess.
It takes time to get down in there and clean up.
And then sometimes if it's a big tooth, it can take 5 visits.
Really?
Did they do all yours in one day?
They did mine, yeah. That was 30 years ago.
No, I mean, I went in originally to got looked at, diagnosed or whatever, and then, they told me that, my options, and that's the one I chose. So that was last week, and then, they had me take antibiotics for a week, and then I went in today, and they did the procedure, and it has a temporary crown, and then they took the mold to make the permanent one. So in 2 weeks or so, I got to go back, and they'll take this one off and put that one on. But they acted like that wouldn't be that big of a deal, like
right.
They got to go into all the pulp chambers and the nooks and crannies and that, in the tooth and stuff, and clean out the debris, and it takes time.
I've had like 3 of them. It's nothing.
Yeah, I just took.
I've had 6.
Yeah.
Gee, now the theme won't play.
It's like,
I was going to tell you. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Hold on a second.
shit.
The theme won't play now. Oh, boy. What is one thing or
Always
another
something.
tonight? What?
It's always something.
It's always something. Let me see if it plays now. Let's see here. There we go. It's playing now. Hey, listen, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate your participation tonight, as always. Josh, always a pleasure to have you here. Brian, gosh, you and your lovely daughter. I think she looks like a porcelain doll sometimes when she's there. She's really, as I say, keep a gun by the door, or a baseball bat or something. Alan, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Tony, and thank you very much to the lovely and attractive Charlie Wallace, and finally our old friend Kevin, who's hanging out there. Good to see you again, Kevin. Everybody, give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. Okay, there they go, folks. There they go. Okay. Anyway, gee, this camera looks pretty good, all things considered. Boy, I'm amazed. And this is the worst camera I own. Okay, Well, so anyway, listen, Jack Bishop is next. Most of the same station. I'll see you tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.